Imagine a creature who has no idea of up or down. In its world, there is no height and depth. There is only left and right, forward and backward. For such a creature, our world would not just be unfamiliar, it would be impossible to understand. Objects would appear to come from nowhere, change shapes mysteriously and disappear without explanation. What we experience as normal reality would look like magic to this being. This strange and unsettling idea was not born out of science fiction, but it was a thought experiment proposed by William Kingdon Clifford, a 19th century mathematician philosopher, who used imagination as a tool to explore the limits of human perception. Clifford imagined a two-dimensional world, a universe as flat as a sheet of paper. In this world, every creature and every object exists only in length and width. There is no concept of height, because height does not exist here. A being living in such a universe cannot look up or down, it can only move sideways or forward. To this creature, simple shapes such as circles and squares do not appear as shapes at all. A square is perceived as a straight line. A circle is never seen in its entirety, only as a line segment that changes size as the circle passes through the creature's field of view. The limitation here is not intelligence but dimension. Now imagine a three-dimensional object, such as a sphere, passing through this flat world. The two-dimensional creature does not see a sphere. At first it sees nothing. Then suddenly a small line appears. The line grows longer, then slowly shrinks, and finally disappears. To the creature, this object appears to emerge from nowhere, transform mysteriously and vanish without cause. Yet there is no mystery at all. The creature is simply witnessing a higher dimensional object passing through a lower dimensional world. What feels supernatural is merely geometry. To such a two-dimensional being, we would appear godlike. We could appear inside closed shapes, touch any part of their world without crossing boundaries, and disappear at will. Not because we possess supernatural powers, but because we exist in a dimension they cannot access. Clifford's insight was profound. What seems impossible may not be impossible at all. It may simply lie beyond the dimension we can perceive. Humans live comfortably in three dimensions: length, width, and height. We take these dimensions for granted, just as the two-dimensional creature takes its flat world for granted. But what if space itself has more dimensions than the three we experience? What if there is a fourth spatial dimension, or even more, that you cannot see, touch, or imagine? Not because it does not exist, but because our senses are not built to perceive it. If a fourth dimensional object were to pass through our three-dimensional world, we would not see it as it truly is. Instead, we would observe strange three-dimensional shadows, objects appearing and disappearing, changing shapes, behaving in ways that defy our understanding of physics. To us, such events would look miraculous or impossible, just as the sphere looked impossible to the two-dimensional creature. Yet once again, the problem would not lie in reality itself, but the limits of perception. Clifford proposed something very radical for his time. Space itself might not be empty and passive, but active and curved. He suggested that matter and motion might be explained as geometry. That what we experience as physical forces could be the result of the shape of space itself. These ideas were speculative in his era, but decades later, similar concepts became central to modern physics, particularly in theories of space-time. Clifford was not predicting equations, he was reshaping how scientists think about reality. What makes Clifford's ideas important today is not whether extra dimensions truly exist, but what his thinking teaches us about knowledge. Modern physics still explores the possibility of higher dimensions, hidden structures, and realities beyond direct observation. This reminds us that absence of perception is not proof of absence. Human understanding has always expanded by questioning assumptions that once seemed obvious. The deeper message of Clifford's idea is humanity. A two-dimensional creature cannot imagine height, no matter how intelligent it is. In the same way, there may be aspects of reality that humans are fundamentally unequipped to imagine. The universe we experience may not be the universe as it truly is, but only a partial view, a shadow cast by a higher dimensional reality. More than a century ago, Clifford invited us to look beyond the comfort of our senses. He did not ask us to believe blindly, but to think carefully and honestly about the limits of human perception. Perhaps the greatest barrier to understanding the universe is not the complexity of reality, but the quiet assumption that what we see is all there is.